we will look at website planning. So, as I said earlier, you need to have a good plan to start off with your website. If you do not have a plan, then your website could have many problems, such as broken links, such as so always upgrading issues. So we need to think about planning. Um, so larger projects usually need project managers. Just like when you develop your system, you have to adopt a life cycle from start to finish. Uh, and then for life cycle, project starts with requirement analysis, and then they move on. And similarly, your web development life cycle, according to Joule 2012, start from requirements and specs, then you collect data, then you develop something based on the feedback of clients, and your design changes are usually um, start to decrease as your project moves on, and eventually you start to publish and promote as well at the end of the testing. So in website development, publishing and promoting its marketing is very important, because there are billions and billions of websites these days, and why a person would like to come on your website. So you really have to um, pitch your website. And then there is ongoing maintenance. Usually these days it's been seen that a person who develops a good website, he eventually is doing the maintenance, and it becomes a business at the end. Right. So the requirements and specifications. Most of the time, clients present you with the requirements, but if you are developing something on your own, you have your own requirements, specs listed. Um, but mostly, when you are developing something for a company, it's basically what the company wants, and then you usually have a project team with a project manager. Project manager usually breaks the requirements into tasks. Actually, the team designs the sketches. Then, so the team actually works on the project specification that contains sketches, that contains who the audience are, how they will interact with the website, and then technical requirements are laid out. So yeah, user analysis guides the design of site content. What it means really is, when you collect requirements from the user, you try to analyze that requirement based on is to develop something useful for the company, develop something which has value for the company. So you have a taxonomy in classification of and naming of contents in the hierarchy. Taxonomy is basically your structure, the topic hierarchy, the navigation, and all that. So how you start on a site specification? You try to ask questions. What these questions are, for example, who is the client for the site, and what is a mission statement for a site? So, for example, a university's website would have a mission statement, such as for displaying mm, um, university activities to the students, prospective students, and general public. So mission statement always have what it does and who it does for. And what do you envision as the goal of the site? So you need to think about the goal of the site. So the goal of the site is to attract more prospective students, is it's to um, promote the university. You need to envision that goal with the website. Now, what do you hope to gain from creating and maintaining a website? Now, this is For example, a university website would hope to gain more more visibility in the world. If it's bakery website, so the hope is to gain more visibility in certain locality, and it could be you know, to gain money as well from the ads. So it is a bit different how your site specifications, and you have to write them down. If you have studied system analysis and modeling, um, exactly like system functional requirements and non-functional requirements, you can write down such requirements for any website as well. Right, so if we continue with the requirement specifications, site specifications, we have other questions like, are these requirements feasible? Now when you write down all the requirements, you have to take them down and see if they are feasible or not. For example, if a bakery website has a requirement of delivering cakes to South Island and from North Island, for example, then do you think it's a feasible requirement for a bakery? What scale this bakery is? Can we really transfer? Can we really have it on our website? Yeah, so you really need to think about some requirements. How will you judge the success of the site? Now, this is something which is a KPI, key progress indicator. Now, we can put a number to it. For example, if these many people come to your site, this is success for your site. Or if these many people buy cake from your site, then this is a success of your website. So you need to come up with few KPIs. Who are the target audience? What are limiting technical factors? So you could have some limiting technical factors, something like to to add in the transaction in the website, and what would be the budget, and then you need to think about if this is a new site or an upgrade, because challenges for a new site would be different from a challenge of an upgrade. The site that you are building, that means are you building a site where people would come and buy something, or are you building a site where people will come and just get information or get news? So your objectives and your users' objectives could be different. So you need to actually think about users' objectives, um, and you need to think about what type of content you're presenting to them, and how would they like it. So if it's an old user who's always been reading a newspaper, paper-based newspaper, how would he come to your website and would read the paper that you have provided to him there? How would he like to read it? So you need to really think about those things. You can even go to them and then ask them what the users want. You can actually take a wireframe mock-up to them, and then you can ask many different users of the website, prospective users of the website, for their comments on your mock-up. Identifying the content goal, as I said earlier, it could be a billboard, it could be a publishing website, portal. These are different goals of a website. So a goal of a blog would be totally different from a portal. So goal of a special interest website would be different from a portal. So you need to really think, what is the goal of your website? Again, wikis, virtual galleries are different from product support and things and so on and so forth. As I said earlier, analyzing your audience means who are the users, what they want from your website. How will you attract them, and then um, how will you make them return to your website and make them stay on your website? It will take more speed, computer speed, connection speed, then it is best not to consider that. So you need to really think on those lines as well. To ask about your audience, are they male, female, level of education, why they're coming to your website. I've already talked about these. And then you can use web analytics as well. These are the statistics which are done by web users. So, for example, on Netflix, they recommend you whatever you were watching, so the same genre. So web analytics are the statistics, and they can analyze what the users are doing on your website. These days it's very scary because you can actually see whatever you are searching for, those ads come up on your Facebook page as well. Somehow everyone is reading whatever you're doing. So actually, this is how they're collecting your information, and even you can do that by looking where your visitors are coming from, which pages they like, where they're clicking more, and you can use those analytics for providing them some recommendations. Right, you need to identify technology issues. Um, for example, where the users are located and what their technology level might be. This could differ on the age basis as well. This could differ on the location basis as well. Of course, as I said earlier about accessibility, it could depend on their physical capabilities of your users as well. So, are they able to type or not? Are they able to read? You are providing them. You have to provide them some narrations. Right. So you can identify those, and you can plan for accessibility, and you can assess the current accessibility, and you have to implement some accessibility options for them. Simple accessibility options are increasing the font and putting some narration. Um, Right. So how are you planning your website? You can use storyboards. You can use flowcharts. They provide some logic. They provide decisions on your website, and you can refine your design based on your storyboard. Uh, Um, think about your users' information needs. How should your information design map look? Review the following sample structures and adapt them to information need. So this is a linear structure. So when we say that you have to organize your information, there could be linear or hierarchical. In linear structure, you are going topic by topic, and then you have some um, subtopic goes back to the parent topic and all that. This is a website structure mostly used. We also known as it's also known as random structure. And yeah, then you have hierarchical structure where it's just like a decision tree hierarchy, where you have base and then sub page and sub page and sub page, and then it goes back to the section page. A successful website is a result of careful planning. Become familiar with development life cycle. You have to, it's better always to start with pencil and paper. You should write a site specs document. Try to identify the content goal. You have to analyze your audience. And an effective website is a team effort. Um, yeah, that's all for this section. In this section of lecture, I'm talking about GitHub. Asking guys to use GitHub because what I've seen in the industry is that people are using GitHub a lot, and I want you guys to be industry ready, as I said earlier in my lectures. So it's always good to do such things when you are learning, when you are in, university, so that when you pass out, know what you are doing. So it's a system that keeps record of your code changes, as a version control, and you can revert back to your previous code. That's why this is, because it's a coding paper, programming paper. So I thought it's good that you use it for your programs, for your work, so that whenever you are making changes, they are there. The industry is people want to see your portfolio. So if you have something on GitHub and you try to improve it there, it becomes like a portfolio for you. And whenever you have to, showcase it to anyone, you can always say to them that they can view your GitHub. So yeah, that's why I want you guys to really think about it and try to work with it. Now I have made a quick guide to GitHub. So first of all, you have to make an account. Try to create a repository in GitHub. Second step is create a repository in GitHub. On your machine, make a folder. I use an existing folder with your coding. And then from your machine, you do git clone and path of the repository on created on GitHub. So when you do it, you can just copy and paste on after git clone. Uh, Again, this all has to be done on command line. So you have to write search cmd, go into command line shell, and you are writing these on command line. Then create file in the folder you created. Yeah, and do anything on that file. Then use git add and that file name, or just git add. See, git add file name, and then check the status, git status, and you will see it in red. It is not committed. After you write git commit, and I added a grocery file, for example, this will turn to green. And then you can do git push. Now git push actually pushes your local file to the repository that you made on GitHub. Similarly, when you want to work on the same file, you can use git pull and bring that file on your local machine and you work on it. So try to work with it, try to fiddle around with it. There is this YouTube link as well that you can watch and work with GitHub. So that's all about GitHub. Thank you so much.